It's a new year, which means it's time for our preview video of our most anticipated games for 2023. Now, this video is going to be a little bit different from previous years. That is because, one, I'm not doing with Jonathan this time around, and two, you can probably sort of hear it in my voice, I'm coming off a bit of a cold. So the idea here is I'm going to try and keep it a bit more casual. The way we're going to go through is I actually went through all Board Game Geeks 2023, opened a whole bunch of tabs of games that I thought looked interesting, and I'm going to go through all of them with you in almost sort of like a streamer kind of way. So as I go through, we'll show images. You can let me know what your thoughts on if a game was a good idea or not. And of course, understand that I'm sure there are plenty of more games to be announced after this video comes out as we go along, as well as some of these games maybe ones we've talked about in previous videos. Because if there's one thing that will remain constant is that there will be games out there that are totally coming out this year. Definitely, no question. This is their year. Not the last five. They're waiting for this one. But without further ado, let's get to it. All right, so here we are at Board Game Geek. It's going to be mostly alphabetical. If you can tell, this one with a number. And we're going to keep going from there and see what happens. So first up, we have, actually already on images here, but the 7th Citadel. It's sort of the successor of the 7th Continent, I guess you can say. A sequel. Do they actually say use just from the creators? Similar systems, but it does have some new stuff. It's got like a skill tree going on, and obviously the theme here is a bit more like grimdark medieval. If you haven't played 7th Continent, one of my favorite games. I love the exploration here. It's one where I feel like you can just keep on going if you learn how to manipulate the game and the deck and the resources, rather than being one that really punishes you for constantly just wanting to do the side quest, so to speak, rather than the main quest. There's so much going on here and tons of cards for you to explore and discover. So really hoping that this is one that isn't going to constantly get pushed to the next year over and over. Next up, we have the new core set for Aegis combining robots. This has season 2, but I do know it's called Second Ignition because I actually have a preview video coming out for this later this month. The Kickstarter should be launching around then. I guess it's also going to be coming out by the end of the year, which would be an impressive turnaround, or at least seems like it to me at this point. This is a great place for you to hop in if you haven't heard of this before. This actually adds some really cool new modes, in particular a solo mode. So pretty much, you can watch the preview video when it comes out, but this is a better starting point than the previous one. And yes, if you own the previous Aegis, still combines all together. This isn't making the other one obsolete in any way. It's just more fun toys, and for those who are new, an easier way for you to get in and mess around with all these robots. Now, next up, this one is actually a 2022 release. This is Aeon's Trespass Odyssey, but I'm bringing it up because I think a lot more people are going to talk about it because it's a big campaign game. I even backed it and got it just last month in December. So I imagine as the year moves on and more people are actually able to play it and go through the campaign, there's going to be more talk about it. So I thought I should still mention it here. So you were wondering, what is this? What's going on? And why wasn't this in your video? Because it's technically 2022, but I just want to give you a heads up. Then moving from there, more Aeon's End because we can't get enough. Now we got a crazy time travel story going on here where we're going in the past and the future. See how this goes. I mean, it's Aeon's End. I like it. It's definitely up there for my deck building games. I think we did top 10 deck building games. God, it's been so long. But it's a good one. So I'm sure there'll be more to their Kickstarter for that besides that game. The new 20th edition of Amun-Ra. So Amun-Ra. Sorry if which one's correct. But, big game, nice new version. So really nice thing to try out if you are a fan of the old one or didn't get the chance to play the old one. Then Ark Nova is getting its Sea expansion. Really excited to see how this plays. I mean, more animals, awesome. Definitely curious how it plays on some of the aquatic creatures, especially considering some of them need so much bigger space. So we will see. I will say that with dominant species, I definitely think the water one is an upgrade to the previous land one. So we'll see if this one is how it contests with its original land-based version. But moving from there, we have the Beast. This one, I remember seeing, it was on a previous list before. I think it was for an Essen video. But it looks really interesting and Unfortunately, unlike the rest, I don't know nearly as much about it, but it seems to be sort of a 1v all. One is the beast and the other one are trying to hunt down the beast. While you're probably a big dangerous creature, it's not you can easily wipe them out. This is not Dead by Daylight kind of thing, which we will get to in a little bit. But you either have to work together as hunters or outrun them all if you're the beast. So looks really cool. Very curious to see how it works and have different variety. Let's actually look at some images really quick. Nice big map, which is really nice. Any of these kinds of moving around hidden movement style games, it's nice to be able to have a lot of variety and weird stuff for you to go. So we'll see how that plays out. But moving from there, Blazon, I remember this was crafting your own crest. Looked really cool because one, it actually has a lot of cool pieces and rules and interactions, but two, you're making your own crest. And it's sort of like one of those things I really like when you get to build something and you get to see what you made afterwards. From there, Chorus Quest, the expansion, this adds like ice and slime. Really great if you are a family, especially with younger kids. But obviously, you can go pick up regular Chorus Quest first. Now, Dawn of Ulos is part of the role player line. This is much more of a Euro territorial control of different like races as you play as gods, trying to gain the favor of all these different groups on a map. So very interesting. Like, I mean, every role player game I've loved so much, so I wouldn't be shocked if I love this one too. But of course, we'll have to wait and see. And surprisingly, not the only role player game we'll be talking about, but we'll get to that actually near the end because it was a very, very late release, or release just announced before I was messing around. Then we've got Daybreak. This is this game from the same creator, Matt Leacock of Pandemic. Similar idea of you are trying to all work together to stop a major global problem, but instead of a disease, because we've already lived through that, we're now trying to stop global warming. This was on, I was about to say Kickstarter, but no, it was on BackerKit. And hopefully this will release soon. I'm really excited to see how this plays, as, you know, it has a lot more than just being a reskin of Pandemic, and it sounds like they added a lot more different elements of different countries and different desires, different goals. There's more than just simply monitoring cubes, so we'll see how that plays. Then from there, hey, Dead by Daylight. So we'll see how this board game version plays. I remember being a little bit, it's still weird to me because level 99 games, I think much more anime style art, when this is very much to me an American horror-based style game and art, but it's a video game property, so we'll see how it does. Now, this one's going to be very big for a lot of people, and that's Disney Lorcana. I'm really curious to see how this card game goes. Some people I've talked about are really big and excited, who are really weird enough. The more people I hear excited are card game players rather than the people in my life who are Disney fans. I think they're like, oh, this looks cool and fun. But it's really the card game people who are like, oh, this looks like a game. This is, not a scientific poll or anything. But I guess to me, that's a good sign, because if the game is good, is what's gonna, like, you will always be able to sell Disney and Mickey Mouse. But if you have a good game to go along with it, then it'll stick. Fingers crossed for that one. New Dune game from Simon. Miniatures. I don't know what else to say. Granted, Dune is a very popular property when it comes to board games, so we'll see how it stacks up with the rest there. From there, Earthbound Rangers is the new deck building game, and I really want this. I'm so excited. Similar to Daybreak, where it's like there's something bad, calamitous in nature and how we handled it, but this rather takes it as the very optimistic view, not the Frostpunk and everything's miserable kind of style. Nothing wrong with that, but this is not usually as common. So I like the theme. I'm very excited about it. So we'll see when it actually comes out, because I'm also paranoid this is one of the ones that we mentioned before, and keep going. This is an Elder Scrolls game. I thought I'd just bring it up, but there really isn't much we know about it. So it's Elder Scrolls. When it comes out, I'm sure a lot of people will love it. But for now, big game, Forsaken from Game Trays, who usually do game inserts and stuff. So this one I think is interesting because partially the company, since they already do all inserts and stuff, they base their game pretty much around the idea that they can have some very weird inserts, dice towers, etc. And I'm really curious to see how that all works out and plays, because since they're in control of a lot more and know how to make the molds and do that kind of stuff, they can get away with maybe some more weirder interactions. So excited to see how this one plays out. Fox Experiment, next a little bit Hargrave. I actually got to demo it a little bit. Really fun. So I'm excited to actually get the chance to play it a bit more and just name a bunch of foxes. I thought it was really cute. And I love the hybridization idea with the domestication. Frozen Frontier. This is one, I can't remember if it was Kickstarter or GameFound, but I remember seeing the project. Looks like this really fun Euro. I think if I recall, these are all different towns you can all visit, interact with, mess around with. So it just seems like there's a lot going on, that there's always a lot of fun, weird strategies and marketing, so to speak, that you can do in game, that rather than just trying to choke out your opponents, I guess, really quickly, be the first one to place in a worker spot. I don't know. I'll have to see, but it was one of the ones that was really popular when I was going through the 2023 ones. This is another one that's just a new, nicer, very nice version, if you can tell from the name, for this time Lagrange. This one's Deluxe Master, so I'm sure a lot of people are happy for that one. Hair of the Dogs one I got to preview. It's awesome. It's dogs. It's about trying to pet and play with the most dogs. It's great. I mean, look at all these cute little puppers. They're good dogs. Hollywood 1947. I didn't know about this till I went through the list, but I have played through not all of them. I think I haven't played one, but of the Facades games, they have like something and then a date. They all feel like they have a really fun little twist on something. So I'm really curious to see what this one brings up. Like I said, I don't actually know anything. So obviously this takes place during Hollywood in 1947. So it seems to be all about hidden roles of we're dealing with, like, whether you're communist, I'm sure the blacklist and things of that nature. Oh, I'm seeing some really fun, cool art here. It looks like classic movie posters. So I'm very excited to see. Like I said, I thought that their previous games are really cool and fun. They come in like these beautiful little book-like box covers. So definitely want to keep an eye out for. Iconoclash, we reviewed it. If you're a big Smash Brothers style like kind of fan, the kind of character brawling, really fun. You can see more from our videos on there, but they have stages. Like there's a better one of the stages, all the different characters. Hold on. There we go. This is what I wanted to look these for. Just show off some of like characters. They have their own decks and tuck boxes. And I think they're planning to go through some other board game properties as well, like crossovers. A lot of Rottie. I remember this looked like such a fun word game. It's not simply just make the word, but you have to like work together to put tiles, but you're playing against these different bosses, I guess you could say, that change things up and mess around with the kinds of words you're allowed or to make, or letters and different suits. It looks like such a fun twist. And is it the only cooperative word game? I think so, that I can think of. I think this might be at least the main one that I can. So definitely, if you're into word games, check this one out. Especially because if everyone hates you, if you're good at word games and you keep beating them, this way you can actually work together. Keyforge, yes, I'm sure. I know all the Keyforge fans I know are really excited and like, oh, thank God it didn't die out like every other, like most TCGs. So it is nice to see that this is still going. We got the Wings of Exchange here, and I think there was another one. Did I have? No, I didn't. But yeah, we'll see how Keyforge keeps moving forward. Very curious about that. Last Light. This one was another one that I know, like, just the box art caught my eye. Why do I think I saw this on a crowdfunding project? But lots of weird, cool little planets. Probably big 4X. Yep, 4X game. Okay, so you, instead of having the planet tiles, you're gonna have probably planets that move around. So you might have to actually plan your launch and landings with how the planets rotate and things like that. That's pretty cool. Legacy of You. This is one I remember that was on crowdfunding, and one of the reasons I think I'm not, at least it's caught my eye, because it's a solo campaign game. I'm getting more excited about these solo campaign games because pretty much I like being able to do it at my own pace, like a single player video game, rather than the bigger ones, which I'm sure I understand the idea of a board game is to play with other people. And then you have your big like Oathsworn and Frost/Gloomhaven game. But it's nice to be able to just do it at your own time and pace. So I'm hoping we see this take more of a resurgence rather than more larger physical campaign games. But that's my own taste. Legendary. You know, I like Legendary. Matrix was their whole thing back at Gen Con. So obviously it was going to be on this list. I think it will. I have high hopes for this one. I think it'll fit well with the encounter system, but we'll have to wait and see and also judge all the art. So let's go to Japan from AEG, which while I'm not technically playing it, I will be doing that later this month. That's how I'm giving myself a little bit of a break. It's about planning your itinerary to Japan. And I wouldn't be surprised if this does well that we get a Let's Go series running along with many different other locales. Leviathan Wilds, this is the first one from Mooncrab Games. I mean, I love these maps that are in a book because it's a lot easier and simpler to set up. And these cool giant Leviathans you have to deal and work with. So really excited to see this one and very excited to see what else Mooncrab has to offer. Maple Valley, this is one I actually got to play at Gen Con. It really surprised me just how cute, simple, but very fun it was. Marvel Zombies, I mean, any Zombicide game is always getting people excited. I know there's a whole debacle with the I forget what they had, at least a version that's a little bit simpler, like to street release first. But I mean, this is the one that's going to have all the fun minis and all the more detailed rules and probably better interactions with Zombicide. So we'll see how this goes and with all its Kickstarter exclusives. Merchant's Cove was a huge hit, so this expansion, a lot of people are going to be excited about it. I still need to play the first one. Another one of the reasons why I'm not good at keeping up with everything and that I should play more of. Once Upon a Time, this was a Lucky Duck I actually heard from, and I'm really curious. It seems to be a strange campaign game, but it's like, I don't know what it means by first scratch-off adventure, because like Jurassic Park had scratching off. I don't know like if it's something else. I'm thinking aboard Scratch Off Inc. Does that mean like you might remove some letters and might make a different name? Let's see if the picture shows a bit. Like the grid board, that looks interesting. So we'll have to see. Another big story campaign game. Or is it? Did I just assume because I say adventure at this point? Play down chapters. Yes. Okay. I was not wrong about that. This one I do know was on last year's list, but we got to chance to do a preview for it, but they didn't accept the video. But it's really cool, really fun. It does a good job of you taking on the monster and cutting through a lot of the like getting to the boss fight. So if you like those boss rush kind of style things and big monster hunting kind of style and big, hunting the dragon or whatever beasts and using the parts to upgrade, definitely keep an eye out for this one. Queen's Dilemma. And I just backed this thing. And I mean, not just, but it feels like just. So I'm just wondering how many of these are they actually going to come out this year? But King's Dilemma, probably my favorite legacy game. I'll need to make a list, but I'm making a very good bet that is number one as of now. So still excited for this, even if I'm not as confident of the release. Redwood, this is a really interesting camera one that almost is like, I felt like it combined, what's the word? Like Warhammer tabletop, like we're using rulers and distance, but this time it's curves and angles to take your photos. So I thought it was really clever that way of combining that mechanic into a more board game style game, also less violent. New Resident Evil game. I didn't know about this one, but Steam Forge. So I think they already made Resident Evil 2. In fact, let's just quickly take a look. Yeah, they got a lot of board games. We're just gonna rank because probably it will be ranked high. Yeah, they did have a Resident Evil 2 game. So I wonder if we're going to see, and 3. I wonder if we're going to see them go through the entire Resident Evil saga and line. We'll go back actually to the and images. Let's see if we can see a better look. Yeah, I mean, this is the classic Resident Evil, so probably not nearly as much diversity in your monsters, but still exploring the haunted house. So we'll see how that goes. And yes, there you go, Kickstarter. All right. Robomon, I think this is Game Found. Looked really cool. Looked like your license-free Pokemon, but really fun with these robots evolving and fun little RPG setting. So I thought it looked really cool. See how much more and how big of a campaign. And look, 1 to 2 players. Once again, this is what I'm looking for your longer games. I don't need a lot of people. If I need to sit around the table for a long bit of time, I want to do a lot of different games with people rather than just one. No offense, but yes. So very excited about that. Rolling Heights, once again, another one we got to try out. And this one, I won't lie, a good chunk of it is because I love afterwards of just pretending to be a kaiju and destroying the board, which probably is not a fair way to judge a game. It's a good game too. It's got some fun sort of resource management on different tiles. It's interesting how you build up because you're sharing what you're building up. It's not simply just, this is my city, this is your city. You know, the green player's there and then there's the purple player. So it was a very interesting shared tabletop experience and fun with all the different skyscrapers. The new legacy game of Sagrada, if that comes out, I'm sure very fun and very colorful. I think it was like even like the color pencils and stuff. Septima, this is one of my biggest regrets. It was one that you could actually sit down and play and try out. I think at very least, I think it was Gen Con I saw. It was probably at PAX Unplugged too if they were there. But big, cool looking, interesting game. Love the little pieces. The whole theme as well seems really fun. So we'll see when the game actually comes out, or at the very least, I can sit down and try it and get better at actually playing the games I'm interested in. Sleeping Gods was a big hit, so obviously Distant Skies is going to be a thing a lot of people are excited about. Slay the Spire, the $100 version of a game you can get on Steam for $6 now. I do know it's different, so I'm sorry for anyone who is a fan and got this. I just can't help it. I find it very funny. Honestly, it probably is worth the $100. It probably has so much stuff in it from not even including probably stretch goals and stuff. But big deck builder, so we'll see how it does compare against other deck builders in the tabletop space area. But one, nevertheless, to keep an eye out on. Once again, another campaign game, another legacy games, the Star Realms one. We'll see how this one works. I do like the idea that they actually printed cards that you didn't have to use stickers. You can have we've made every card weird combination so you can get that version. So I really appreciate that, as sometimes stickers can be unwieldy. New miniatures game, Star Wars Shatterpoint. I'm curious to see if this replaces Legion, because I wonder how many. I mean, I guess, well, there was Armada and X-Wing at the same time, but I don't know if they make any Armada anymore. I think X-Wing's still around, but I don't think Armada is still kicking it. So we'll see how this goes, though. This looks a bit more, based on this cover image, and I guess the minis here too, smaller squads. I guess you can say more of the famous characters, or at the very least, very heavily on the Clone Wars saga kind of zone. And then there's the Star Wars deck building game. Gotta love deck building, gotta like Star Wars. So Fantasy Flight, I'm sure a lot of people are really excited for that one. I mean, I don't think I remember seeing this card art. I mean, I can't help but be pulled a little more towards this, as this is the classic trilogy style. I wonder if they actually used art from what was the other Star Wars card game with the dice? Destinies. Or Destiny, or something like that. But this is one I'm excited to try out. Steam Up one, I remember I've seen that multiple times at conventions. It just looks awesome, and hopefully that lets, again, just like everything else here that was a Kickstarter, Game Found, or backer kit, that it comes out this year. Returning to Awakened Realms, we've got the Tainted Grail Kings of Ruin expansion. I have finished the base Tainted Grail. I've not played any of the other expansions that already came out with the first campaign, so this may be an interesting one to try out. It was a tough fight, but I will say getting through it, I felt pretty happy. I'm a sucker for Arthurian lore, and I think they did a really fun job of an interesting sort of grim, dark world. So I would be more than happy to eventually take on the King of Ruin, or become the King of Ruin. I don't know. It depends what the story goes with. Terraforming Mars dice game. I was a big fan of the card game. Not sure. Maybe the dice game is them trying to answer the even a quicker version. We'll see how it actually plays out. I keep saying that over and over. I'm sorry, but that's how these things work. Next, Tidal Blades. This is the dungeon crawler. Really exciting. I should have a video soon for the sort of spin-off Banner Festival, which is actually a really fun drafting game, but I need to play a bit more of that, unfortunately. Didn't make it in time for the end of the year. Sorry about that. But really fun. I love the world. I love the setting. So really excited to see how this dungeon crawler comes out and works. Restoration Games, Thunder Road. This one's just hilarious racing. I mean, it's technically like supposed to be much more Mad Max-ish, but it sort of feels like Mario Kart to me, of just the hilarity that will ensue of just the shooting and the cars flipping over each other and exploding. Really fun with that. Unconscious Mind, this is one I was more curious about. I remember it was part in my essay video, like a weird resource management as you're all psychiatrists trying to find the right ways to deal with your patients, take on more patients, then make reports and stuff. But I haven't had a chance to play it, so we'll have to see when I get to. This one's really here more for me, as I'm ashamed, as usually when I hear Undaunted games, they're very well received and I've yet to play any of them. So this is more of to remind me of like, shame on you, Will. Once again, shame on you. Play them. Play one. Do something. So we have the 2 unmatched games with Marvel for King and Country, which is the Soviet spies versus Wakanda, as well as Teen Spirit being the, I cannot remember the group name, but that's Miss Marvel, Squirrel Girl, and Cloak and Dagger. So more Marvel characters, though. As they told me, those will not be appearing on the digital version of a match that, if not out by this or demos out, will be out soon. But I think they're thinking of finding ways to replace them somehow. We'll have to wait and see. But as you saw, Weirdwood Manor, this is one actually I should have talked a little bit during my Gen Con videos. The board here is really cool. It has rings that rotate and changes entrances and stuff. And the enemy spreads out and you have to like deal, similar to Pandemic, deal with these robotic like scarabs. And as you level up yourself, it looked just like one of those things that has a lot of fun things going on and an interesting timer. And of course the theme and sort of gothic magic school, but also like monsters and stuff. So it's definitely one that has caught my eye and will want to try and play more of. Witcher game, this is one actually I think got a lot of people excited for when I started it by the number of times people have rated it. This is, if I recall, this is a prequel from all the Witchers. Hopefully it'd be better than the last Witcher board game, which didn't do so well. I think the RPG was better received, but the board game wasn't. Probably because this is a prequel, won't be too much. And of course, nice big box. And hey, look, Wonderland's War, this is an expansion mostly on here. I have not played Wonderland's War, which is another feel bad because I think once I looked at other people's top 10 lists, this was on a lot of lists. So, or the base of this is. So it was just like hey, look at this game that everyone else thought was good and you didn't touch it. So I'm sure a lot of people are very excited for this expansion. Last one, though, is we're returning to Thunderworks with Goblin Vaults. This was just announced. Another little fun card game. I guess like playing as a bunch of goblins. God, I love that art. Very nice. In their own sort of, I guess, sort of a poker style kind of game. I don't know if it's actually poker, but that kind of card game you sit around at a tavern, or I think this case they're in the prison. Once again, very excited to see these things, the role player games, how they all work out. But that's the last one I have here, and we've been going on for quite a bit, so I think that's a good time to stop. Let me know of any of the games. I did go a bit quickly because there was a lot, and I don't want this. I know usually they're about an hour, but that's 2 people, so this is probably worse. But if there's one I missed or didn't spend enough time on and maybe got something wrong, let me know in the comments down below. What other games are you super excited about? What games did I mention are ones that you feel like you've been waiting on for years because they keep telling us that it's going to come out? You can let me know all that in the comments. And what else are your plans? What were your board game New Year's resolutions? Love to hear all of that. Thank you so much for watching and listening to this bit more casual listing. I hope it was good enough, but like I said, just with the way things are right now, thought I'd try it out because it's not like I have too much to show with these games. I thought this was a little better. At least I can click on some images along the way, but you can let me know. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you to all my rollers on Patreon who support me there. It's always a big deal, and whether you're there or not, a like, share, subscribe will always help with the YouTube algorithm in the new year and trying to make this a bigger, newer channel. But for now, I'm Will, and this is Roll for Crit. Happy and hopeful 2023.